Hey everybody, welcome to Center Stage. I'm Rajiv, and today we have Don Colossi, CMO from FocusVision. Welcome to the show, Don.
Hi, Rajiv. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. So, Don, you've talked about your role as CMO at FocusVision, and you talked about the first 90 days, which was a great piece on LinkedIn, vulnerable and intriguing, and talked about some of the challenges and what you faced and how you overcame them. Here you are now, a year and 2 months later, at your current role as CMO as FocusVision. So, where are things today? What has changed for you, and sort of where has the journey landed so far?
Yeah, it's been a great year. I think when you come in as a CMO, you assume that you have a certain amount of experience and you're bringing that to a role, but I think the other part of that is that you learn a whole lot. Yep. And I think that's been the best part of this year for me. So as I wrote about in that first 90 days and subsequently I put out a number of blogs around it, I had a number of aha moments. Having worked in PR, communications, editorial, and obviously marketing for the past 20 plus years, I'd like to think I've seen and done a lot. And coming to FocusVision, I had this aha moment in my first 90 days that we actually, as marketing departments in high-tech companies, didn't do a whole lot of customer research. Mm-hmm. And we relied on our product marketing managers, on our execs, on our salespeople to tell us what our customers think and feel. And then we would build entire personas and messaging platforms and campaigns around that, secondhand information. Right. And what I found is we were constantly, and I don't think this is any surprise to anybody who's worked on a marketing team, we were constantly in battles, in battles about, is it the right messaging? Are we talking to the right people? Is that really what they care about? Is that really what they're thinking about? And the result was changing direction over and over and over again. And you were always at the mercy of the last, case study of one. Mm-hmm. We would have all of this behavioral data coming off of our website and all of this click data coming off of our advertisers and social and everything. And as a marketing team would go up and show how people were behaving and what they were responding to and what they weren't responding to. And all it took was one person in the room to say, well, the last meeting I was in, the customer said this, and all of a sudden we all changed directions.
Sure.
And what I found at FocusVision, or the sort of that aha moment at FocusVision, was, gosh, if you just start with the customer and understand what the customer wants, what they think, how they feel, you can all align behind that, if you have the data to back that up. Mm-hmm. So it's, and the blog I just wrote last week it was an almost embarrassing aha moment, because it just seems so simple.
So obvious,
Yeah, and you do one of these things like, I've been so far up, every messaging stack and meeting and everything. I never sort of stood back and said, wait a minute, why don't we just ask the person we're trying to sell to? Yeah. And nobody I ever worked for did. So like I would love to take full responsibility that, I was the only one not seeing that. But I've worked for people from very, very, very big companies and, who were my CMOs and everything, who never brought research into the process. So I think it's really a problem. And again, my experience being in technology, that, a lot of companies aren't doing that. A lot of companies are doing that. We know that the big consumer brands of the world, such as, P&G or Netflix or Amazon, they're doing a ton of research, and it shows, right? It shows in their success.
Right.
They are really customer focused and understanding what their customer thinks.
It's a great point. It's a great aha moment. It's great to always be learning and sort of have that open mind to be able to see the forest from the trees. And then once you realize that, things can shift and change. Let's talk about that. You talk about sort of small data and human insights. Can you think or give an example of you also talk about the why, the point of view of the customer, on when you discover customers' why, through qualitative and quantitative research. Can you sort of cite an example of how you did that and the results of that?
Yeah, so we've done now, we started out very small. So when I first got to FocusVision, as most CMOs find, there's a lot of work to do, right? Because you have a vision of the way things are going to work. Yeah. So I wanted to start with, because I had the resources at my disposal, a very quick, short study, which was just a quantitative study at that time. And that we were just trying to figure out who's responsible for the research budget, right? And who's asking for the research. And what we found was 60% of the research projects are coming out of marketing. Not surprising.
Yeah.
Especially with the role of marketers changing into sort of the chief experience officer and all these data insights. So that was sort of our first, okay, well, we know who we want to be talking to. Because as a company, we were mostly just talking to the market research people and the market research agencies. While those are definitely the people that are directly using our software and our tools, those aren't the people that are actually asking for the projects or funding the projects. Yeah. So if you continue to, just talk to the carpenters who are selling the house, you're only going to sell a hammer. But if you talk to the homeowner who's trying to renovate their house, you're going to sell a whole lot more, right? Sure. Yeah. So to use an analogy that I like very much. So that's, so that was the first study we did. And then we did a 3 or 4, actually 4 in total now, subsequent studies on different angles of what we were trying to understand. So we're trying to sell to the marketing department. We're trying to talk to the marketing department. What do they care about? What are their pain points? What sparks them to fund a project? How are they running that research? Who are they working with? And then, the last study, all the way up into the last study that we just did, which was a study through Forrester, was what data really can predict your customer's behavior? Because at the end of the day, all businesses are trying to create predictability. Because if we can predict, our sales and we can predict our customer base, then we can figure out, if that becomes predictable, we can figure out other ways to grow and diversify and make the business bigger. So the series of studies that we've done, like I said, starting with a very small one all the way to this Forrester one that we just completed, really has given us a full scope, and we continue to do more. That's not the end of it, but has given us a full scope from, okay, who's asking and what do they need to know? Yeah. And which helps us talk to our customers. But ironically, or not ironically, we're trying to get our customers to think the same way about their customers.
Yeah, got it. You talk about sort of these 4 pillars that you're sort of focused on from a customer-driven marketing engine. So thought leadership, demand gen, sales enablement, and market intelligence. Maybe break those down for me a little bit and tell me how that's been going for you in terms of thinking it in those terms.
First, I need to at least give credit where credit is due. So that's the Serious Decisions campaign framework. And I, having been trained in the Serious Decision models, it's where I've modeled my work out of.
Yes.
So the framework basically says that those 4 areas, thought leadership, demand gen, sales enablement, and marketing intelligence, are really the 4 elements, program families within a campaign that you need to build and create and flesh out and create alignment across the organization in order to have a campaign that's successful in market. So the Serious Decisions framework very nicely puts those 4 program families together. So we can build out on all those areas. So the first thing I did was align my team behind that. Okay. So I created a solutions marketing function. That includes 2 researchers, an SVP of research, and another researcher who is a quant expert. So they are subject matter experts, solution experts. A demand gen team those were new hires. I brought on a VP of digital and demand, and then I let go of my digital agency and brought in a full-time person because I wanted somebody paying attention to that, 45 hours a week, not 12 hours a week. And then I built the sales enablement team who is solely responsible for taking sort of the thought leadership and demand gen pieces and creating the sales enablement piece. So whether that's the next conversation or the materials that become behind that or the sales kits or, the emails to invite to a webinar. So they're solely responsible for making sure they create that bridge between sales and marketing so that, there's a flow of information both ways. Not just marketing pushing things out to sales, but us getting the feedback and the requests from sales on what they need to be successful. And then marketing intelligence, we've added a function there of someone who not only scopes the market, but of course is responsible for our own metrics and understanding what's happening with our audience when we acquire them, once we engage them, and what those conversions look like.
Got it. Got it. Great. Thank you. Let's talk about buyer journeys. Super important. Tell me about your process in defining buyer journeys. What do you guys?
Near and dear to my heart. So my experience with the buyer's journey, which I've talked about also on social media a lot. A few years ago, I was working at a big software company, and we were getting smart about collecting data and understanding what was happening. And looking at that data, it looked like every single thing that marketing was doing was failing. And the reason why I was looking at that is because it was a one-touch model, right? We would run an ad, drive to a landing page. If the landing page didn't collect 100 names that didn't get passed over to sales to collect 50 to make 50 sales, everything was a failure.
Right.
So we decided to sort of take a high-level view of that, and went into Salesforce, looked at close-won deals, and started figuring out what those accounts were doing from the very first time we could identify them to a closed-won deal. And what we saw was those accounts were creating their own buyer's journey. Mm-hmm. And they were participating in 15, 16, 25 different marketing campaigns before they became an opportunity. Right. And then continuing, which is really interesting, they were continuing to participate in all different campaigns, whether it was, an online campaign or a trade show or anything, again, being the Salesforce definition of a campaign, which is one tactic, through to close. Mm-hmm. And once we took a look at that, that aha moment then was, okay, so it's not one thing, it's a series of things by a buying team, not one person. Because as we all know, Salesforce tracks one contact, right? So if we put that one contact in from that one form, and that one contact isn't the one who bought, there's no way of tying those things together because there's no account-based view there. Right. So that, I did a lot of work on buyer's journey. So when I came here to FocusVision, using a lot of that data that we were collecting in those different studies, trying to understand, okay, what happens when someone starts understanding that they need to do some research, or what they should be looking for, what kind of research should they be doing, what kind of content would they be looking at there, what kind of content are they looking at when they're trying to decide what solution to go with, and then what is that accreditation stage content, that buying decision content that they're looking for at the end. And so what we did was, we identified those three stages, we put the characteristics behind them, and then we started building the type of content that would go into each of those stages. And we started that with a content audit of the existing content, making sure that we put it in all three of those buckets and seeing where we were missing content. Of course, this is all based on a story arc, right? A buyer's journey story arc, because you start with a problem and you end with a solution. Yep. It wasn't just based on, we sell survey software and let's talk about survey software as a concept, survey software as the product, and our customers love our survey software. It came all the way from what are you trying to understand about your customer to what is the right solution for that. Okay, and how are other companies being successful there?
And tell me about what's your sort of methodology on testing, positioning, and sort of creative?
So the way we tested, I probably, like most marketers, or maybe we're going a little bit beyond, is through the quantitative and qualitative research. And combining big data and small data. So, we actually ask, right? Do you find this useful? Is this content useful? How are you using that? And we use that feedback. What are you looking for? What are you missing? And we use that feedback. And then we take a look at behavioral data. Yeah. Is that content performing the way it should be performing? Are people clicking on it? Okay, they're clicking on it. Are they opening it? Are they staying on it? Are they going to another piece of content? Are they continuing their journey? So we combine that big data and that small data to understand fully what content's working and what's not.
Yeah. So from one touch to multi-touch attribution, absolutely. From one buyer journey to multiple buyer journeys, different personas, different decision makers. It's pretty complicated, but putting it all together.
Marketing's a hard job.
It is.
Again, what I just read this morning, which is so disheartening, that the average lifespan of a CMO has decreased down to 2 years from 3.5.
Wow.
And it's
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
It's so indicative of how the shift in business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think you have two types of CMOs right now. The ones that are really trying to change,
Mm-hmm.
and their organization doesn't understand the change and doesn't understand why they're focusing on the big picture when they just want lead gen or they just want an ad, you know, and the ones who should be focusing on change but are keep on doing what they've been doing, and so they aren't successful, right? I mean, what person doesn't want to put a form out there that gets filled out 100 times that results in 50 sales? I mean, everybody wants that.
I mean, standard block and tackle
works.
Yeah, standard block and tackle, MQL, SQL, close one funnel.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that? That's easy.
Sure.
You know, but it's not the way the consumer works, no matter what you're selling.
Yeah.
So, you know, you continue to have these conversations internally on, we don't want to do those things that take 6 months. We want to do the things that only take, 6 weeks.
Sure.
Yeah, we all do. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I think we're seeing that really, and I hope we've hit bottom, but I think we're seeing that lifespan so short because what if two things happens? Either the CMO gets frustrated that the rate of change isn't fast enough and they just keep on, every day is a fight, or the company gets frustrated with the CMO because they don't believe that they're delivering what they should be delivering and they're asked to leave. Yeah. So, there you have it, 2 years.
Yeah, something's got to change. And I think balancing the long-term vision with sort of the short-term strategies, 90 days, 6 weeks, there is a balance that you can achieve. And also think about sort of traditional block and tackle, but where is the puck heading? Where is it moving to? And how do you implement these new ways of thinking?
Absolutely. It's not an either or, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to do both.
Yeah. So let's talk about you again. Let me bring it back to you as a CMO at FocusVision. What does your typical day or week look like in terms of, how do you work with your team? How do you work with the execs, the C-levels? What does that look like for you?
So I start every Monday morning at 9 a.m. with a sales leadership call.
Okay.
Which I think is actually a really good way to start the week. I think one of the challenges, obviously, is the traditional sales and marketing challenge. So having a weekly check-in with sales leadership at the very beginning of the week, gets us all thinking sort of in the same perspective. I have three. So in this job, I manage a remote team. My last job was all around me, which was very nice. But this is a remote team. Okay. So somebody told me this is called something. I didn't realize it, but 3 meetings. So the first meeting is a production meeting with my direct reports on Monday. What's coming up? What deadlines? Where are we in danger of missing? What strategic things do we need to think about? Where are we in our campaign cadence? We update our campaign framework twice a year for each half. So where are we in that cadence? What are we delivering? And then the Tuesday, I have a meeting with the entire marketing department where we go through sort of, what are those big things going on? What updates do we have to share? And then, of course, some cross-functional status.
How big is your team?
Here we're 11 strong right now.
Okay, and they're all distributed?
It's a lot smaller than what I've come from.
Yeah, and all distributed, all remote, or
everywhere. Nobody's sitting in an office together.
And so you guys use Zoom a lot and Slack a lot, I'm guessing?
So here's a product plug. We actually have a product of our own called Interview Now, which is a free platform. Okay. So we use that. Interview Now, okay. And it's pretty much what we're doing now with Zoom? Yeah, and it's mostly used for focus groups, like for remote focus group research, but we use it as our video. But it's not much different than this. We use it as our video conference platform. Okay. And then I have one-on-ones every week with my folks. So it's a sort of a trifecta of touches because we're not all sitting together. We have, I spend a day a week in the office with the CEO. So, it's just good to have that FaceTime because I'm also remote. Sure. But I go into New York City once a week so that I'm spending a day with him and the CFO. And then, we have our executive meetings at least once every other week. And I'm constantly updating the entire company on what's going on or news or, we have a weekly sales communication that all of the marketing news goes into, but it's not just from marketing. It's also coming from all the company, but we are probably about half of the newsletter just to sort of, keep the company up and up to date on what's going on.
Sure. And so what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing as a CMO, and what are some of the greatest rewards that you're also achieving?
So the biggest challenge is probably the same challenge as everyone in my position is facing. It's time. Everybody wants everything fast. And looking at that, long-term, what our long-term goal is as a company and balancing that with our short-term needs.
Sure.
That definitely is a big challenge. As I mentioned at the beginning, FocusVision traditionally only spoke to the market research agency, but if we're going to grow the business, we need to get to different buyers and different, the enterprises who are starting to bring their insights teams internally. And it's not someplace where the company has played before, and I need to talk to those people and I need to engage with those people. Are they going to result in immediate sales? Probably not, because there's a journey, right? And there's a warming up and there's acquiring of an audience that has to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got to help my sales team to keep selling. So what are those short-term initiatives that can help bring in people who are right now looking to buy? And some of the ways that we do that is with intent data, who's out there looking to buy with those correct keywords, investing in search. So trying to find people who are in that middle part of their journey without having to start at the very beginning. Got
it. Okay. There's been a lot of hype and talk about AI and machine learning. But I'm curious on your point of view on how important is it to retain that human connection when it comes to marketing? Oh,
it's all about human connection. And AI and machine learning, I feel the real use for that is sort of that back end great administrative piece, right? Like if I don't have to have a person sitting behind the scenes saying, oh, well, these 25 accounts came to this page, so we're going to put them in this nurturing program, or they're at this part of their buyer's journey, so we're going to do this action. Like you want your machine and your AI to be able to do that and parse your lists and direct them in the right way and to automate all of that, right?
Yep.
That's the great part. And you want your human beings to be the ones who are writing content that are connect to other human beings, who are going to be out there speaking, who are going to, create content and concepts that are going to connect to people's feelings and what they think. I think bot-generated content is very spottable, and I think the reason why we've had some success is because of the content that, we're putting out there is really honest and authentic from our point of view. What are we experiencing, which we believe other people are experiencing. And it isn't, I've never come at anything for you should be doing this. Because I don't know if they should be doing this. I don't know if I should be doing this. I'm guessing I should be doing this. And I look at the data to make sure that I seem to be doing the right things and I'm getting the results I want. But I do think anybody can make that blanket statement. It's more of, here's what I'm learning. Here's what I've seen work, not work. Take it and with it what you want. But there's no preaching involved.
Ever evolving.
Yeah.
You mentioned this notion of interactive, immersive videos where the customer is in control. Tell me a little bit more about what that looks like and how does that work?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that in your face. I'm driving in my car and I'm going to talk to you sort of thing. I think part of it is because I'm an introvert, believe it or not.
The Gary Vee
I don't like people in my face. Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather want someone to, just like content, ingest a video on their own speed. Okay, is the first thing you're trying to understand is, how would this fit into your overall experience? Let me allow you to look at that. You want to go further? Click here. We're going to let you go further. You want to see the product? Now click here. You're going to go there. So that, it's not a 10-minute video of here's everything we have to tell you.
Yeah.
It's at your own speed and just the content at your leisure. And I hope that it's useful to you and you're going to keep going.
Almost like choose your own adventure.
Absolutely. But who doesn't want to be controlled? I mean, it's all about the buyer being in control right now. right? I mean,
100%.
we've never been more in control of our own buyers' journeys than ever before. And I think, any company, as a marketer, I respect that. As a consumer, I love it.
Yeah.
So you have to respect that. You have to work within the way people want to behave.
I love that. I agree 100%. 100%. We actually didn't really talk about what FocusVision does. So maybe you can just take a couple of minutes to tell the audience about FocusVision and what the company does.
So our positioning statement, I'll give you first, and then I'll go on. So FocusVision is the only company that gets you close enough to your customer to understand how they think, feel, and act. And the way we do that is with software solutions. We have a survey platform that can scale from simple to sophisticated. Mm-hmm. We have a focus group, as I mentioned earlier, focus group platform that allows someone to run a focus group from wherever they are to as consumers across the entire globe. As we know, focus groups used to be very limited to geographical, right? You do one in New York and everybody shows up and watches behind the glass, which only gives you a slice of a very small sample. Right. So this allows you to go, global with that. We offer a product that is a mobile diary, which basically is an in-situation research tool. Whereas someone carries it on their mobile phone, they're in a store, and they can talk through what their experience is. I've just walked through the front door, I see a display of toilet paper. I'm going to buy this one because I really like that cute bear on the cover, or I'm going to go look for another one because this one's really expensive.
I love that.
You get that in-person experience. Mm-hmm. And understand what the experience is. And very big brands are using this. We have a case study on our website from Pampers. They didn't understand why they were losing customers from one size to the next, because mm-hmm. the baby continues to grow and usually isn't potty trained until they're about 2 or 3 years old. So why were they losing from size, I think it was size 1 to size 2 or size 2 to size 3? Mm-hmm. And what they found was because they hadn't sized properly. So, and they only found that from using Revelation because the mothers and parents signed up and were willing to, let them watch their experience and why they chose what they chose. And what they found out was their sizes, there was too much disparity in their sizes, and they retooled that and were able to service and not lose those customers. Amazing. Good stuff. And the company was founded in 1990, so been around almost 30 years. It was, the roots being video streaming. So mm-hmm. from focus groups rooms, video streaming, and in the past 5 years have acquired all of those other technologies that I talked about to become a full end-to-end research technology company. Got it. Great stuff. Okay, let's shift gears. We're almost to the end here. Do you have any daily habits or rituals that helps you keep focused and productive? Yeah, so I wake up and exercise right away because it wakes me up. I'm not a morning person. And funny enough, I'm not a night person either. I peak between 11 and 2. Okay. So it gets me moving. Uh-huh. I tend to read news first thing in the morning. Okay. I check my LinkedIn feed, obviously, and then I read the newsletters from the various places that pertain to my market. And then I usually try not to schedule meetings until about 9:30. So that I have that time to sort of frame. And at the end of the day, I always make sure I clear my queue, which means anything waiting for my input or waiting for my response is cleared before I leave, because I don't want anybody in any other time zone getting up the next morning and still waiting on me. I want them to be, ready to go. Got it. And speaking of having a distributed team and distributed workforce, what's the culture like at FocusVision having remote workers? I think for the most part, a lot of teams are sitting together. Marketing is sort of different. Sales team isn't. They're distributed, but I think sales is always distributed because of regions and everything. I think our culture is enthusiastic. We're passionate about helping our customers. Our focus really is on helping our customers, which I think is nice. I think a lot of companies are out there and looking at their numbers and really focused on that. And a lot of the conversations that we're in is, okay, how do we help our customers over that? How do we get them to the next point? How do we clear that path? How do we make it frictionless? How do we, and it's not about your website being frictionless. It's okay. How can you get more research done to get more insights into your customers?
Got it. And you have a background in PR, is that correct?
Yes, PR, editorial PR, AR, yeah, the whole gamut.
And so how has the transition been for you from that side to here? Has it been what you imagined, something different?
It was unexpected. I didn't, that wasn't a path that I chose. I was at a company as their director of PR, and they fired all the marketing people and told me I was in charge. And I was like, in charge of what? And they said, marketing. I was like, no, I don't do that. I do this. And they're like, you can do it. And I made the switch, and I don't think it's hard. I mean, listen, it's all about communication, right? It's all connecting with an audience. When you're a PR person, you're trying to connect with the press and the reviewers and, the bloggers and people who are out there amplifying or telling stories.
Right.
As a marketer, you're trying to, and PR is part of marketing, but as a marketer, you're trying to connect with your buyers and your audience and your salespeople. So it's all about connecting and giving people what they need in order to do better at their job.
Sure. Back to that sort of human connection. What's your superpower?
Organization. Somebody might say that's to a fault, but
I read that methodical is also another one of yours.
I am extremely methodical and organized in everything that I do. Everything. So coming in here, the first thing I did was, organize roles and responsibilities, organize a process, create a cadence, create reporting structures, be able to look at reports that showed us what was happening, and, regular meetings, as I talked about. So it's very much about putting that operational framework in place. So that just happens. You don't worry about it. You're not trying to fix that all the time. So that all of your energy is spent on, being strategic. Okay, what do we want to talk about? What do we care about? What does the market care about? How do we connect those two things together? Because I'd much rather have those conversations every day than, wait, that tracking in Salesforce, is it showing us who wants to have those conversations?
That framework is the foundation that everything is built on.
It is, and everything just works off of it, and it's not every time someone says, okay, we're going to do this, we're like, okay, where do we start? We know where we start. There's a cadence,
I love it. So, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we leave?
No, I encourage everybody to come visit us on our website, www.focusvision.com, and follow us on LinkedIn, because I think we are putting out some terrific content. Even if you're not in the market to buy, I think you can learn something. I'll
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Dawn Colossi, CMO from FocusVision.
Thanks, Rajiv.
I'm Rajiv. This has been Center Stage. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.